Morris, just give me your take here in terms of Iger coming back in, the challenges that we've been talking about here that he will be facing once again. What do you think?
Good morning, David. Thank you for having me. I think that I really respect and admire Bob for his willingness to reassume this responsibility. There's a parallel here to Howard Schultz, but it's not quite the same. And I think it's great for the company. And I think you have to at least respect the board for realizing they made an error in signing Chapek 11 months ago and in reaffirming that. And we feel a lot better about what's happened since last night.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that the challenges are any less, in terms of dealing with direct to consumer, the enormous content costs there. Can you really make money? We were just having a conversation about sports rights and ESPN. What do you think when it comes to, for example, those two areas that Iger will do or do differently than Chapek?
I'm not sure, but I think that one of the things that there's a clue. We sent one of our best analysts to the Moffett-Nathanson conference this past week in California, and the surprise luncheon speaker was Bob Iger. And at lunch, he spoke about how much time he had spent in developing their franchise, their park business, and their film business in China. And since the change in management, Disney has not been able to get a film on in China. So I think the details matter, and I think that the willingness and the ability that he has to work with people, his historic ability to work with Steve Jobs, which led to one of the greatest acquisitions of all time, Pixar, his judgment and implementing probably what I think was I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, the best acquisition of all time, which was Marvel. Details matter, and I think he's going to pay attention to these things.
Yeah, details matter. We know the talent matters too. And while Iger's coming in to maybe turn things around and make some changes, he's also coming in with a clock ticking. I wonder what your thoughts are in terms of the bench, what that looks like, and what succession, I guess, round two could potentially look like too.
Well, I think you draw the parallel to Starbucks once again. Howard is focused on restructuring the business and in finding the next CEO. And I think that's something that Bob is going to have to almost do from day one. He's probably, I think, going to have to pick a COO who people will see as his designated successor. And I think he's got a great bench. Now, they lost a really talented executive when they lost Peter Rice. But they have an extremely talented, probably I think the most talented film entertainment executive in the business sitting at Disney, and that's Kevin Feige. I think the thing you have to realize about Disney is that everything it does is entertainment. That's the parks, it's the movies, it's the merchandising. It's all focused on the value and quality of their superb franchises. They've created real estate value out of raw land in the center of the state of Florida because they're Disney. And you take that factor into account, I think that's what he's got to be focused on. I hope that answered your question.
Morris, if you look at the asset portfolio in general as it stands right now, is it what you'd want? Are there things to do in terms of selling, buying, adding to, separating assets at this point? Or is it just about maybe running them a little bit better and making sure that the relationships with content creators and distributors are better?
I think the answer to your question, Carl, is all of the above. Most important, Disney has the best entertainment franchises in the world. You can't replicate Marvel. You can't replicate Star Wars and the Star Wars universe. You can make them much better, particularly the Star Wars universe, but you can't replicate them. You can't replicate the animation library. You can't replicate the fact that people take their children to the parks to see the princesses. So I think those assets are extraordinarily valuable. And there's real estate now that comes around with it, the value that's been created as a result of that. But in terms of what you do from this point on, I think there's one issue that has to be dealt with. I think there's an opportunity here for your boss, Brian Roberts, and there's an opportunity for Disney, which is to restructure the relationship with Hulu.